Welcome to the selfgrowth.com show. My name is David Riklan, and I'm the founder of selfgrowth.com. Today, we'll be discussing how to overcome money and stress struggles for small business owners. To help us understand this topic, I'm excited to interview Cathy Sexton. Make sure to listen closely. We're going to be sharing a lot of information today. Before we get started, I just want to take a couple of minutes and share some information about Cathy. Cathy Sexton is a productivity and profit specialist, speaker, author, TV host, and coach. She works with highly driven, overworked, underpaid stresspreneurs. I like that concept, a stresspreneur, and individuals to ignite productivity, increase profits, and accelerate results. Cathy uses her passion and empathetic nature to help people live healthy, productive lives. Why? Because she knows the health risk of being overworked. She lived it and paid a very high price for living that lifestyle. As a result, Cathy is committed to helping others reduce stress by gaining clarity and focus so they get more done in fewer hours and make more money. So we're going to get productive and profitable today. And I want to share her website with you, and I urge you to jot this down. And we're going to share some things on the website for you later, but I want you to just jot it down right now. Her main website is theproductivityexperts.com, theproductivityexperts.com. And she has a special quiz on this that we're going to be talking about a little bit later. All right, let's jump in. Cathy, welcome to our show.
Well, thanks. Thanks for letting me be here and share some of my information with everyone.
You're welcome. So I mentioned a little bit about your story. So can you tell us more about your story? What happened?
Sure. I was an accountant by trade for 30 so plus years, and I was working in the corporate world and finding different medical issues that were happening, and one time ended up in the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack. It wasn't. And a few years later, with all this, I got diagnosed with a life-threatening disease that is caused and induced by stress. And come to find out, it was, my working habits that was the problem and the situation I was putting myself in. So it's really interesting because people will say, well, why, is it owning your own business stressful? And yes, it is, but it's my stress and I have control over it. And so it's just been really a passion of mine after I started working with small business owners, realizing that they needed so much more help than bookkeeping, and that they were wearing a lot of hats and they're working themselves basically to death. And so that's where my passion comes from, because I just don't want people to go down the same road that I went down.
Yeah, I get it. Sounds like quite a wake-up call. And I can imagine when something hits you at home like that, so close to home, especially your health, when you're working, it's got to have a big impact on you.
Well, it does. Yeah. It's scary.
Oh, I'm sure. Everything like that. And I think a lot of people have experienced something, some more severe than others in terms of the impact. Sometimes it's just stress and inability to sleep, but it can be minor to quite severe. So I want to continue here a little bit. So tell us more about what you do. So I like the concept, productivity experts. You mentioned the stresspreneur. Tell us more about what you do and who you help.
So I started working with, as I said, small business owners, really started with their accounting and then realized they had no systems or processes in place. They knew their craft, they knew their skill set, but they really didn't know how to run a business.
Right.
And so that's the road I started taking down with coaching them more on time management and some goal settings and stuff. And then in 2010, basically, I had to revamp my whole life and my work. And when I did that, I realized coaching small business owners was where my heart was.
Right.
So that's when I started coaching them and helping them. And I kind of put the X up against the accounting, didn't want to do that anymore. But over the last probably 10 years, I've re-embraced all that and realized they also need that help, because if a lot of times when they're working with business coaches, it's usually one part of the or the other, but since I also know the accounting so well, it's been very, very helpful to help them implement systems that help them relieve that information and help them learn how to handle the financial side of their business.
All right. You mentioned a little bit that people have expertise generally in their area, but why do you think small business owners struggle so much with their businesses and the finances and all this?
So I think it kind of goes back to that whole is they know what they do. They're good at what they do. Most of them have never run a business before. They don't know, and they fly by the seat of their pants. They've not really built the foundation for their business. They just, a lot of them just follow the next shiny thing and are constantly going in a lot of different directions. When they start their business, they think they can't afford to hire people to help them. So they try to do it on their own. And then they spend more time and spin their wheels, just going over and over when they could be much more efficient working on what they do best. And I think the financial piece is a huge piece because either from old money story or just from the lack of knowledge of not knowing and the fear of money. I think that's a big cause of failures in a lot of small businesses.
One of the things I know is cash flow in a small business. I run a small business, so you're always concerned about cash flow. That's a big issue. And I also realize that's probably the biggest stressor for business owners, cash flow. And this is not only, it's small business owners, medium-sized business owners. It's, cash is king is the old saying. And relative to cash flow, I know that's one of the areas I think you help your clients in. So how do you help your clients in kind of the cash flow area?
Well, I teach them and I have them set up a systematic way so that number one, they're paying themselves because most small business owners don't get to pay themselves, especially on a regular basis. So to me, that's number one, because you're putting in all this time and all this work. So if you're not getting paid, that's becomes a problem because you're working all this hard and then you start thinking, why am I working so hard when I'm not getting any benefits for it? And that's why we go into business, right? And so I teach them how to do that. I teach them how to put money away for taxes, and I teach them how to become very savvy with their money so that they constantly have that cash to be able to pay their bills on a regular basis. If they have debt, to reduce that. So it's really important that they become really familiar with really what's going on with their money and their business. And when you do that, cash flow basically is not as scary.
Right. I get it. What are some of the reasons money is such an issue? It's clearly an issue for a lot of people in their business. Why do you think it's such a big issue?
I think a lot of it is because the money story that we live with. And I think we all have some, not all of us have bad money stories, but I think a lot of us do from childhood. And, my parents, I didn't even realize my money story until I started going down this road with helping other people and kind of discovering those. But I remember vividly at one point we were going to lose our house. Had seven, there were 7 kids in our family. And I remember hearing the conversations in the other room, And so I think there's things that we need to waken up and really visit those money stories so that we can, debunk them because they're not true. They're not who we are. They're not, they might have been part of our history, but they're not who we are now. And we let a lot of those money stories keep us in a place of not being financially well with our money.
That makes sense. So part of that, I assume, just comes to speak to mindset. What's your mindset with money? And a lot of it, as you mentioned, is historical. It's based on stories you've heard, what we've developed, and not only as a child that we continue to hear. So since mindset's so important, what can we do to change that? How do we change these stories that we're growing up with? You obviously had your story. How do we go about changing that?
So the first thing is starting to recognize, our subconscious is 90% of our conscious mind is subconscious, right? Only 10% are the things that we make decisions on every day. 90% is subconscious. So we have to start being aware and start really hearing and listening to those voices that we have that are guiding us in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And once we can recognize them and start listening to those things, or you're not good at money, or you waste your money, or whatever, it is, it could be anything. We're not good enough, we're not smart enough, whatever that is. When we can start recognizing those and realizing they're not true. And I've been working with a guy out in Hawaii, and he has this great thing about turning your doubts inside out. And I just love that phrase, because it's really, when we have those doubts about ourselves, it's really the opposite is really true. So it's really about to recognize that, be aware of it, so you can change it.
All right. I'm a strong believer in you need to face an awareness. It sounds like that's really where you're coming from, an awareness and recognizing what the issue is first before you can possibly change it. And
Agree, definitely.
That's a really a first step. I think a lot of people are afraid to face what's really stopping them in a lot of cases. And they might even be aware of it, but it's very different to have it in the back of your head versus the forefront. Because when it's in the forefront, it's time to really make a change. So one of the things I want to just take a minute and talk about is I know you have a quiz on your website. Can you tell us a little about that quiz? Who's it for, and what are they going to learn from it?
Yeah, so it's a quiz about really the speed of your working style, basically. Because of me being, and I call myself a reforming workaholic, and I realize so many other small businesses are really working themselves so hard. So it's a quiz to kind of find out where you are on that road. Are you, kind of gliding along and, just kind of going with the curves? Or are you ready for derailment? So it's there's like 4 different areas that you fall into. So it's a quiz that you just kind of answer the questions, and then you'll get a video and some information based on wherever you fall in that range. And I think it's more of a wake-up call for a lot of people, just to realize that maybe the road they are is not as healthy, and need to be more aware of where they're going.
All right, so let me give out the website one more time and the information about the quiz. So the website is theproductivityexperts.com. And if you scroll down on it, you'll see where it says take the quiz. So it's theproductivityexperts.com, or you can go to just quiz.theproductivityexperts.com. So either way, and how long does the quiz take?
It only takes you probably about 5 minutes to do. Okay. It's really pretty short.
5 minutes, and it sounds like it will really give you some understanding of where you are right now relative to your work and what you're doing. So I highly recommend just taking a couple minutes when we're done with Cathy. Stick with us for a couple more minutes, and it's go to theproductivityexperts.com. Now, I know you have some programs. You do some things that directly help with stress or these money challenges. Can you share with us a little bit about it? What do you do, and what's your program relative to stress or money? And as we talked about earlier, every small business, cash flow, stress, money, these are challenges for virtually everybody.
Right. Let's just talk about the stress right now, because and I didn't even think to share this with you, but I've just created, because of what's going on in the world right now. And, because especially those of us who are small business owners, are we not only worried about our family and friends, we're also worried about our business, where they're headed. I've created a page on my website that's called the De-Stress Zone, and it's just full of free resources, to help, because we really need to watch the stress in our life. I kind of told you a little bit about my story, and it's so easy to go down that road. And it's so important for us to be really aware of what are those stressors in our lives and what can we do differently. Right. And the one thing that I can definitely say is one of the best things that you can do regarding stress is just have gratitude and be thankful for what we do have. Regarding the money challenges, I'm just getting ready to launch an online course. It's called the Miracle Money Method. It basically is based on what I was telling you. We learn how to do our money story. We really dig in deep and figure that out. We talk about, if you had all the money in the world, how would that look? And then actually take you step by step through the process of building that financial background for your business. There's a lot of, and it's for anybody. You don't have to have a accounting background or anything like that. I really try to break it down so it makes it really easy and workable. There's 9 modules, 33 lessons or 35 lessons through the whole thing. So it's going to take you from just understanding yourself better. What do you need to do to set up your business? And then it'll also take you into, if you have debt, how to reduce that debt. And then also, how can we then take this information and turn it into our personal lives?
All right. And for people to find out about the programs, is it all on your website? How do they find out about these?
Yeah, I'll be sharing a lot of it just here real shortly on Facebook. If you go to my website, and if you've, take the quiz or anything that you do on my website, then you'll probably fall into my list, and then you'll get notified when that's available, which it'll be available within the next couple of weeks. So.
Okay. And just to remind everybody, it's theproductivityexperts.com. Now, if people want to contact you directly, should they just go directly to the website? What's the best way of
Yeah, you can go to the website. There's a comment section, or you can just email me directly at Cathy@theproductivityexperts.com, or look for Facebook, The Productivity Experts. So if you use that Productivity Experts, you're probably going to find me.
Okay, sounds good. You shared a lot of interesting things today. Specifically around money, amount stress, and I get your story completely. And I think a lot of people resonate with that story. We've all been there at one point or another. Before we wrap up, do you have any final words for our audience? Any final thoughts for people?
Yeah, I think, the best thing, especially right now, I think that we can do is be positive, share your positivity with everybody else. And if you are, running a small business, this is the time. This is time to take, we've got a little lull and things going on. So spend that time working on your business. Don't let what's going on stop you and keep you, kind of with your head pulled over, the covers pulled over your head. This is the time, and be, working on your business and making yourself stronger.
All right, that's a great message. And I mentioned earlier when we were talking that people fit in, I've seen people fit into 2 categories. Some people that are saying, I don't know what's going to happen, and they're in a kind of a holding pattern, or they're kind of frozen with fear. And then some people that are saying, this is a great opportunity, I'm going to march ahead. This is a great time for planning. This is a great time for learning. This is a great time for building. And I think that's absolutely the way and the approach to do this, while balancing it. You mentioned gratitude and some other things earlier. So I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been very valuable. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening. And I want to wish everybody great success in all areas of your life. We'll talk to everybody soon.
Bye.